Okay, and welcome back to this lesson. So we'll get straight into dimensioning the pillar block here, bearing pedestal. So I want to import the dimensions that I've used in creating the part. I'm going to use them first. We can just add manual dimensions, but we'll add what's additional dimensions we need later. So I'm going to go up here to Model Items, and I want to import entire model and make sure this box is checked import to items to all views. Okay, I do want to eliminate any duplicates so that I don't get double ups, and I really only want to bring in dimensions that are marked for drawing there. And if you're ever in a sketch environment, it defaults to a dimension whenever you create it marked for dimensions for drawings. So with that all selected, we could add, I can add this one. It adds the whole callouts. That's about the only other thing I need. The rest of it we can leave as is. So I've only got the dimensions marked for drawing and the whole selected here so far. And I'm going to click the green tick, and you're going to get a large number of dimensions all come crashing in. So what we're going to do now is highlight and move them all around so that we can actually make them mean something. So let's see if we can pretty this up a bit so we can actually read the dimensions. Here, I might have to move that down there. Rightio, so alright, so that's our overall width. We can move these. So I might move that one so it's not so cluttered up to here, and it is just a matter of arranging the dimensions so that they're not crossing each other, not going on to other views, and so forth. So you'll see that when you bring a dimension out, it should snap. Now at the moment these are snapping. That one's snapping. You can see a yellow line there. It's snapping to the 3mm radius leader up here, but that's about where it should snap to for the first dimension. Alright, the other thing I look at when I'm dimensioning a part is what information should be at this particular view. Now we've got a part half section view here, so anything that's dealing with the information for this half section view really needs to be in here. The other information could easily be placed on other views to reduce the complexity of it, like so. So let's see, that dimension there, the 6mm, I might move that. Holding down the shift key, I'm just going to drag that over and bring it over to here. You can see it's snapped to its actual location. So I'm just going to bring that over here. Can I flip that? No. Okay, so you see here how the dimension arrows are now crossing each other. Bad juju, not according to Australian standards. That's where that needs to happen there for this instance here. You'll note that the extension lines, they need to actually protrude 1mm past. Alright, they should actually from the edge of the thing there. So I'm just going to extend this out a bit. Notice this line can come all the way in. It can cross the part, but it's not actually touching this line. So there is a defined gap between the extension line and the part that it's actually dimensioning. And again, that's to avoid any misinterpretation and confusion. So I'm going to bring this back out there. That one, can I move that one in? So that's snapping to there. 3mm, can I put that in the middle there? Let me snap to that position. is there. Alright, so that's the overall height. I'm going to move that. That's definitely got to be. Bring it over to this drawing. Definitely belongs to over here. And again, fixing up the extension lines so that there's a clear gap between the part edge and so forth. So that's the bottom radius there. It's that height up. I might just extend these down a bit so that it's not cutting through. Look at that. This one I could easily flip the arrows, they're not going to cross. I don't think it needs to stick out that far. Snap it to there. It's automatically put the foreshortened dimensions in here. I don't know why it hasn't picked up my standard. I'm just going to go into my configuration document. It's picked up the old standard. Alright, I'm going to load. Now if you haven't got this, let me know. I'll tell you where it is, but I've now created Australian Standards SOLIDWORKS 2018 Standards. I'm just going to open that one. Click OK. That should now, look at that, see how it's changed those dimensions there. So it's got the double arrow edge there. Let's fix that up. Might just bring that inside. Can I get away with that? Look at that. As long as it's not touching the extension lines, it's all about being able to read the drawing. And that come in. Why? Might just, that kind of looks a bit better and it gives me a bit more real estate there. That 30 doesn't need to be that far, and I reckon that information would be better on this drawing, but definitely hanging out this side. Can I get away with it? I'm starting to lose some drawing real estate here. Drag that over a bit. That looks fine. Again, changing that extension line so it's not crossing this. You've got a center line there, center mark, I should say, and that's clear of the part. This 3mm fillet is typical, so I'm going to add TYP, uppercase TYP, to that. I think I might. What else have we got? How are we looking at this side? That's that 3mm. I am going to move over to the detail view. Again, that's what I was talking about. Didn't happen. Hold down the shift key. Let's see if I can get it to drag over to this view. It doesn't want to go. So if a dimension just doesn't want to play the game, may have to add a dimension ourselves. So I'm just going to manually add that dimension. That's added that one. So therefore I'm going to hide this one. Escape out of the dimension tool first. Right click on it and hide that dimension. So I don't really want it there. The 38 can stay here. Again, I'm just going to drag that up so it's not crossing over. 6mm. Again, that 6mm would, I reckon, see if I can drag this one over. See if he comes over. He doesn't want to come over, so I'm going to take this edge and this edge and I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to flip those arrows. If it doesn't need to be flipped out, I won't add those. So I'm going to again hide exit the dimension tool. It doesn't like this, does it? Hide. Same with the 5mm. Let's add that one as well. I'm just going to add that quickly. Just selected that line. That's working beautifully. Right, yeah, so I don't need that one. I can hide that one as well. Means that this dimension doesn't have to stand up so high. It has that 38, but I'm just going to add an overall width. I do always like an overall size on my dimensions. What have I got here? 48. I think that 48's the width of that there. I'm going to drag that one down to here. Bring that down a bit. Just going to get a bit tight on our dimensions. That's snapping to there and that's snapping to there beautifully. I can bring that to the same height as that. This 3mm rad, I'm going to hide it. I've got this one as typical. That looks pretty good. This dimension here, that's not representing much. The extension lines here need to be brought up to represent that it is, in fact, the width of this inside of the casting. This here, let's see if that will come. Again, it doesn't want to go across, so I hide that and I'll add it over here. Technically you don't need it, so gonna let me dimension it. Oh, look at that, there we go. I'm gonna add that one there. So it's got a radius. Any arc that's not a complete circle is a radius, not a diameter dimension. Rightio, so I've got an overall length at the top here. It doesn't need to hang up that high. It's 44. It's got to come out only because can I drag it over this side? Look at that, that looks better. I will have to clean up those extension lines so they don't cut across the whole part. It's more for like when it's got the hidden lines here, it just makes it look like a solid line. It adds again an element of confusion. So that pretty much has got that. This, can I drag this one off and put it onto this hole? There you go. I didn't have to hold down the shift key for that, so I just clicked on the arrow and dragged it over to the other hole. There. I would like, actually I can add that, the center distances. It's one of the things it does miss when it brings in dimensions. And also there. That works for me. Can this drag down a bit? Might move that letter so it's on the end. Therefore make that match. Bring that onto the end as well. Which then gives me a bit more there. Let's make that all a bit better. Now, not required, but we could add it. If you ever had to make a part and you've got to do maths and add things up. That's why I tend to probably over dimension things a bit there, but adding that just means that the person doesn't have to add up to if they've got a measure off there. But ideally the 100 mil is what you're referencing, not so much, because if the casting happened to be a bit longer than what the 132 is, and then you came 16 mil off, you wouldn't get this 100 mil distance apart. So something to be aware of. Rightio. I think that's just about got this fully dimensioned. I can't see any others. The only other thing I will add to this here is, let's say this ball. I'm just going to add this ball. I'm going to add, actually I'm going to take this dimension. No, it's already there. Let's just add a dimension for this ball. Add it. What I want to do with this dimension though is, let's say it was a tolerance. Let's say this had an actual tolerance. I'm just going to go into the precision here. I can use this drop down here to add a tolerance. Now, depending on the tolerance that you want, I'm just going to use limit, and let's say this hole is all about clearance. Okay, so it's got minus nothing. Alright, but I'm going to have, let's say, an 0.5 tolerance, so it could be plus 0.5. So being a hole that has got that there, I'm going to hit escape, and that's how you can add a tolerance to your dimensions. You can go for the limits and fits. There's a whole heap of different types of limits that we could add to that there. Let's say this 100 mil, it had a tolerance, and we went into here. This time we're going to, not the precision, let's say it had a bilateral, so it was plus, oh no, symmetrical. So there is a symmetrical tolerance already, but I'm going to have a 0.1, plus or minus 0.1 for these drilled hole positions there. And that pretty much, I reckon, has got my component fully dimensioned.